Of all the reasons that you can pick from to change your life, there's just one that always gets the job done every single time. It doesn't matter who you are or what your background looks like. This reason is a guaranteed way to shift your reality starting today, but it does come with a catch. It requires the power of repetition, because once you've triggered this feeling a couple of times, frequently, you're already well on your way to a different identity. The feeling that I'm talking about is pure disgust. And when you've experienced this feeling repeatedly, consistently, it can motivate you to move mountains. Yes, by simply being disgusted with the same cycles happening again and again in your life. Years ago, I got sick and tired of failing, sick and tired of rejection, and sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick of being the old me, and one day I made a decision to change my thinking before my circumstances got the memo. That decision, years ago, is why I'm sitting here in my living room talking to you right now. There's something deeper about this process, though. For the majority of my adult life, I was waiting for someone to believe in me and my dreams. Ironically, when anyone finally did, I couldn't really appreciate it. I didn't have the identity to. I kept repeating that cycle until I saw the pattern of what was really going on. That self-belief is the name of the game, and it's the only game in town. Instead of waiting around for the right person or the right opportunity to come along and rescue me from me, I decided to do it myself. I decided to rewrite my own belief system from the inside out. What I teach on this channel is the same exact formula that I used in my private life. I'm not only the founder, I'm also a client. Let's arm you with the knowledge to break any cycle of negativity in your life and brainwash yourself for success. Because once you know this, you can't unknow it. The way I see it, identity work and everything that comes along with it is much more than a spiritual label that it gets tagged with. It's a science. Before I get into the hows, I want to share exactly what pushed me over the edge of disgust in the very first place. I got fed up with what modern psychology had to say about me and who I was and who I could be. I got sick of this notion that if I wasn't born under the perfect circumstances, in the best neighborhood, in the best schools at the best time, I would be chained to a mediocre life and everything that came along with it, and I should just be happy about it. I grew sick of feeling like a victim and even more sick of being led to believe that it was some type of honor to be one. Here's what I came to realize about this vicious cycle. It takes a victim to make a victim. A lot of people are moving around out there, moving through life, passing along the same treatment that they were once on the receiving end of. Usually without even knowing that they're doing it. They got hurt. They didn't know how to deal with it, didn't know how to process it, didn't know what it meant. And now they're dishing it out. They're dishing out the same experiences to the next person and the person after that. And I got tired of being the next link in that chain. The second piece of the puzzle that I found went all the way back when I was a kid involved in martial arts and in team sports like any other kid was. I learned very early that the only way to master something was through the art of repetition. You get better by doing the thing over and over again until your body and your mind are in sync with each other. So when I started working on my belief system, I already had the blueprint to make it work on a subconscious level. Disgust was the spark that lit the flash fire in my gut, and repetition was the gasoline I poured all over it every single day to keep it going. Because, we're all brainwashed. Every single one of us. In one way or another, in one form or another. We're brainwashed by algorithms, by advertising, by advice that cosplays as an honest opinion. The only difference between any of us is who's brainwashed for success and who's brainwashed for mediocrity. That's what got my attention about the neuroscience of identity and spirituality. I realized that if the world was going to brainwash me anyway, I might as well take the wheel and do it myself. On purpose this time with what I want to experience, because the alternative was letting relatives, advertisers, algorithms decide what I believe about myself, what I believe about the world, and I wasn't going to keep paying that price. I also want you to sidestep the negative connotation around the word brainwashing as you're listening to me right now. When you strip it down, when you distill it down to its base form, brainwashing your own mind is just a simple and repeatable formula. It's repetition plus emotion, and that's the sweet combo for a brand new belief system to form. That's it. That's how positive and negative habits get formed. So instead of letting the algorithm install fear, doubt, and even envy into my mind, I started installing discipline, trust, and resilience. Same formula, but with customized inputs by me. I brainwashed myself in stages, and the results showed up in my life accordingly. So take notes, because this is exactly how to change your reality one stage at a time. Stage 1, identity first, results second. The first stage I mastered involved an inversion of a popular principle. You don't try to be disciplined. You decide that you already are, then act accordingly. Deciding is something that you settle in your mind right now, and then your actions catch up. The decision always comes first. I saw a comment on one of my recent videos that inspired me to teach my personal formula, my own brand to the audience, but in a different way this time. This particular viewer, shout out to you wherever you are, was arguing with me, my digital representative, trying to convince me that he couldn't label himself until he had the results to show for it. And I get why that feels like it's the clever thing to say in the comment section, but that mentality is exactly how you stay stuck in the loop of always becoming and never being. I used to live that way. I used to live and die by those very same principles. And the lower mind loves that kind of thinking because that means it gets to steer the ship for just a little bit longer. The shift came from me when I changed the language I was using every day about myself. I stopped saying things like I'm a YouTuber, and I started saying I run a successful business and I love what I do every day. I stopped waiting on the relationship to appear before I label myself as a wonderful husband. That sounds small and insignificant, especially when you're in the infancy stage, but big results always have small beginnings. The first version of this principle keeps you auditioning for a new identity, always waiting to be picked to receive a blessing or a miracle. The second version tells your subconscious mind that it is what it is, that we are that now, and your role is to hold the line until the universe catches up. Once your identity begins to cement, your behavior follows automatically. You don't have to force discipline when discipline is just who you are. Now, your results will always chase your identity instead of the other way around. Stage 2, get addicted to progress. Once I cleared that stage, I decided that the name of the game from now on was progress, not perfection. That distinction saved me from a lot of frustration because perfection is a moving target that you'll rarely hit, but progress is something you can measure every single day. I want to mention something about this whole manifestation content space online while we're on the topic. Manifestation is introduced in an incomplete way to a lot of fresh minds out there that's hungry for knowledge, as if the moment you become aware of the natural laws of the universe, you're somehow entitled to the outcomes, but without the requirement of discipline and consistency. People get sold on this idea that awareness alone is the finish line, as if taking a science class automatically makes you an award-winning scientist, or because you took a couple of law classes in college, now you're the best lawyer in the country. The truth is, awareness is just the starting line. The journey is still on the docket, but who said you can't enjoy the process? So what I did was engineer my own dopamine loops, but I aimed them at achievement instead of distractions. We're running dopamine loops all day long, and in this day and age, it can get easily hijacked and steered into the wrong things. 24-hour rage-baiting news cycles, overly processed foods, binge watching, doom scrolling. There's no shortage of detours out there. It's all operating under the same chemistry, but I decided I was going to use that equation in my favor. Every task I completed, I checked it off. I tracked my workouts, I tracked my habits, and my projects in a way that I could see with my own eyes every day. There's something about watching the evidence stack up right in front of you in your own handwriting that hits a lot more differently than just keeping it all in your head where you'll easily forget it anyway. I celebrated momentum, not really milestones, because milestones are too far apart to keep you going from day to day. This is because your brain loves those chemical rewards. It finds them delicious. It's going to chase after them whether you give it permission to or not. So I made progress my drug of choice. Stage 3, control the input, control the output. There's an old saying in the world of computing going back to the 1950s that goes like, garbage in, garbage out. You heard it before, right? It started as a computing mantra made up by George Fuchsel, who was a programmer for IBM at the time. But it applies to your brain and your nervous system in the exact same way. If inaccurate or poorly structured data is entered into a computer, the output of its processes will always be incorrect. And yes, that means that your brain is the most sophisticated computer that you'll ever interface with. Whatever you feed into your system is what comes back out on the other side in the form of your lifestyle. If you're feeding your mind low quality, short form content all day, every day, is it really that shocking when your thoughts, your actions, your relationships, and your bank account match the quality of that input? You become what you consume, as above, so below. So I stopped feeding my mind with garbage. I cut out the drama, I cut out the reality shows, I cut out the gossip, I cut out the 24/7 news cycles telling me that the end of the world was coming just after the commercial break. I cut out the rage bait content, the gender war content that was served to me on a silver platter every day. I cut out the cancel culture rhetoric that's designed to keep me angry and reacting to things that didn't actually happen to me or anyone I knew. That stuff is engineered to hijack your attention, and once it locks in, it starts reshaping your belief system. In place of all that, I got draconian about what I allowed and didn't allow into my mind. I started reading the books written by people I wanted to emulate. I studied the habits of successful and influential people who are still household names long after they passed away. I listened to podcasts with people who built something, not influencers trying to sell me a lifestyle. And maybe the best one of all, my best tip of all, I started going back through my own journals and studied my old thoughts the same way that a developer would read through code to figure out why the output is broken. You'd be surprised what you can learn about yourself when you actually pay attention to the patterns written in your own handwriting. The principle here is simple. Guard your input and your output will start to look like something you can brag about. You don't have to force the output when the input is already doing the work for you. Stage 4, visualize pain, not pleasure. This one goes against everything you probably heard on this channel and everything you heard in the personal development space, but it's been one of my most effective secret techniques that I've been using for years. I've used it on myself, I've taught others to use it, and it goes something like this. Everyone out there is visualizing success. They're picturing the car, the house, the international vacations, the relationships, the version of themselves that finally made it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'll never tell you to stop doing that. But very few people are willing to visualize the other side of the coin, the other side of success, which is regret. What I did, just a handful of times, don't make a practice out of this, was I pictured the slow and painful existence of staying exactly who I was. I imagined what my life would look like in 5 years if nothing changed or if I indulged in my old habits just a little bit longer. I pictured myself coming up with elaborate excuses, explaining to myself or to someone who loved me why I never actually went all in on my dreams and bet on myself or my passions. I visualized the version of me that never traveled outside the country, the version of me that never took a risk, and the version of me that never found out what I was truly capable of. That vision burned a hole in my memory because the brain is wired to move away from pain much more faster than moving towards pleasure. So when complacency started to call my name, and trust me, this still does from time to time, I ran that simulation in my head once or twice to get me back on track. Pleasure visualizations is like pressing down the gas pedal in your dream car. Pain visualizations is the guardrail that keeps you from drifting off the highway of success. Stage 5, finding the success in silence. This is one of the simplest steps to explain to you, but it's the one that most people resist the hardest when I teach my frameworks. Start with 10 minutes a day in silence, and then work your way up to an hour or more in total throughout your entire day. No music, no text, no DMs, no TV shows playing in the background, just you and the sweet silence. The reason this matters is because silence is where your best epiphanies, your best inspiration is going to get downloaded. It's where the path forward starts to become a little bit clearer. You can't hear your own thoughts when there's music and reels and group chat notifications blasting in the background. The signal is always there, but the noise can be drowning it out sometimes. When you create a window of silence on purpose, you give your higher mind room to actually express itself. That's the mantra I still live by today. Prayer is for talking, meditation is for listening. Silence isn't really the absence of sound after all. It's how you bring awareness to the front row. It's the only way to finally pay attention to the thoughts that are running in the background of your mind that are steering your life in different directions. In a world that's constantly baiting you for your attention, the ability to sit in silence and hear yourself is a superpower. Most people will never develop this superpower, and that's precisely why it's worth developing. Stage 6, rehearse your future reality until it feels real. Back then, I visualized my future self until it stopped feeling like fantasy and started feeling like I'm remembering who I really am. That's the bar I aim for every single day, and I'm always aiming for until this day. Not a daydream, not a vision board exercise, an actual sense of familiarity with who I'm becoming to the point where it feels like I'm remembering it instead of imagining it. The way I make that happen is by rehearsing it in my regular day. Not obsessively all day, every day, but at least once or twice before I go to sleep every night. When I walked, I moved as a person who already achieved what I'm working toward. My posture, my pace, the way my voice projected, the way I carried myself in public, all of it reflected that higher version of me. When I wrote in his voice. When I had a decision right there in front of me, I asked myself one simple question: what would the successful version of me be doing right now? And then I did that every single time, even if it felt a little bit awkward at first. The reason that this is so effective is because your subconscious can't really tell the difference between something you lived out and something you mentally rehearsed 1,000 times. Olympic gold medalist Lindsey Vonn visualized the slopes of every single run that she ever made before she strapped on her skis. Michael Jordan imagined specific game scenarios before he stepped onto the court every single night. Actors and athletes know this and take full advantage of it to make their fortunes. When you adopt this method, by the time the moment shows up in your real life, your body and your mind have already simulated it 100 times or even 1,000 times in private. So when the opportunity actually comes, you don't freeze up and hesitate and make the wrong decision. You step into it like you've been waiting for it your whole life, because in a way, you have. Step 7, stop taking opinions for advice. Finally, the last stage and my favorite stage. Don't get sucked into someone else's reckless opinions, no matter how convincing it might sound in time. There's a real difference between advice and opinion, and a lot of people out there will hand you the former while calling it the latter. Advice is grounded through experience and success, results. Opinion is just someone's ideology posing as wisdom. Learn to tell the two apart, and your whole life will change for the better. You could spend your entire life trying to meet other people's standards for who you truly should be. I tried that for years and it wasn't fun. The problem with that way of thinking is that that road has no finish line. There's always going to be another person with another opinion and another standard that they themselves haven't met. And staying on that road is going to leave you full of resentment. Now is the time to start prioritizing your intuition. Get to know yourself first, then hang out with your own kind. The people who actually have what you want or are working diligently towards it. Being around people who share similar visions as you, similar frequencies as you, and similar goals as you is so much more helpful than trying to change someone who has an opposing belief system. You're not going to convert them into believers until you achieve the goal that you set out for anyway. And trying to do so is going to drain you of everything you got. Save your energy for your inevitable victory lap and thank me later. Because the race to your very best timeline starts the moment you close out this video. Start with one of the 7 stages and run it for the next 30 days or so, because repetition is the only thing that turns the knowledge from a motivational video into a new identity. Get disgusted enough to do something about your dreams, then rinse and repeat until you won. That's how you brainwash yourself into a brand new timeline. If this episode woke something up within you, type "that made sense to me" down in the comments so I know that this wisdom served you well. The links below will take you directly to my free identity training and every single resource that I put together to help you master your mindset. I am Shaun, and you are neither here nor there. Thank you for sharing your time and space with me.